The space station floated like a silver coin against the darkness. Inside, Captain Hyunwoo adjusted his formal uniform and tried to ignore the nervousness in his stomach. He had not worn this uniform in 5 years, not since he retired from active service. The grand hall was filled with people from different worlds. Humans in their dark suits stood on one side. On the other side, the Velkari waited. They were tall creatures with scales that shimmered red and gold under the lights. Their eyes were like liquid metal. Some had 4 arms, others had 2. All of them looked dangerous. Hyunwoo walked slowly through the crowd. He was here as a diplomatic liaison, nothing more. His job was simple: smile, shake hands, and help keep the peace. After 30 years of Cold War between humans and the Velkari Empire, both sides were finally ready to talk. Or at least they were pretending to be ready. A young human officer approached him. Her name was Ji-won, and she had been assigned as his aide for this summit. She looked worried. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Ji-won whispered. "Half the Velkari in this room fought against us in the war." "So did I," Hyunwoo replied quietly. "That's why we're here, to stop fighting." Ji-won did not look convinced, but she nodded and stepped back. The speeches began. Human ambassadors talked about peace and cooperation. Velkari commanders spoke about honor and strength. Everyone used careful words that meant nothing. Hyunwoo had heard it all before. He let his mind wander. That was when he saw the general. The Velkari was massive even for his species. His scales were deep crimson, almost black in some places. Scars crossed his face and arms. He wore the armor of a high commander, decorated with symbols that Hyunwoo recognized as marks of great victories. The general was looking directly at him. Hyunwoo felt his heart beat faster. Had they met in battle? He tried to remember, but there had been so many fights during the war. So many faces, human and alien alike. The general began walking toward him. The crowd seemed to part naturally, as if no one wanted to get in his way. Ji-won noticed and moved closer to Hyunwoo, her hand near her weapon. "Captain Hyunwoo," the general said. His voice was deep and rough, but his human speech was perfect. "I am General Thalvin of the Velkari Imperial Fleet." "General," Hyunwoo replied, keeping his voice steady. "It's an honor to meet you." "The honor is mine." Thalvin looked around the room, then leaned closer. "May I speak with you privately? It is a personal matter." Ji-won stepped forward. "Sir, I don't think—" "It's fine," Hyunwoo interrupted. He had learned long ago to trust his instincts. Something about this general seemed different, not hostile, almost familiar somehow. They moved to a quiet corner of the hall, away from the crowds. Ji-won followed, but kept her distance, watching carefully. Thalvin stood in silence for a moment, as if choosing his words with great care. Then he spoke so quietly that only Hyunwoo could hear. "My father always used to speak about you." Hyunwoo felt the world stop. His breath caught in his throat. "What did you say?" "My father, Koreth. He told me stories about a human soldier he met during the war. A man who showed him mercy when he could have killed him. A man who taught him that enemies could become friends." Thalvin's metallic eyes seemed to soften. "That man was you." Memories flooded back. 30 years ago. A planet with purple skies and forests that glowed at night. A crash landing. Pain and fear and the certainty of death. Then a Velkari soldier, wounded like himself, who chose to help instead of kill. "Koreth," Hyunwoo whispered. Is he here?" Thalvin's expression changed. Pain crossed his scarred face. "No, he is on our homeworld." "He is dying, Captain. His body is failing. The doctors say he has perhaps a month, maybe less." Hyunwoo felt something break inside his chest. Koreth, his friend, the alien soldier who had saved his life and then let him go when rescue came. They had promised to meet again someday when the war was over. But the war had lasted so long, and then the Cold War after that. There had never been a chance. "I'm sorry," Hyunwoo said. "I wish I could have seen him again." "You can." Thalvin straightened to his full height. "That is why I am here. My father's last wish is to see you again before he dies. He has been searching for you for years, but the war made it impossible. Now finally, I have found you. You want me to come to your homeworld?" Hyunwoo could not believe what he was hearing. No human has ever set foot on Velkari Prime. "I know. It would be dangerous. Many of my people still hate humans. The journey would take 5 days. And if my enemies discover that I am bringing a human to see my father, they might try to stop us." Thalvin paused. "But my father saved my life when I was young." He taught me everything I know about honor and duty. This is his final request. I will do whatever it takes to fulfill it. Hyunwoo looked back at Ji-won. She was watching them with suspicion and concern. He thought about his quiet life on Earth, his small apartment, his garden, his peaceful retirement. Then he thought about Korath. 3 months they had spent together, surviving on that hostile world, learning to trust each other, teaching each other words from their languages, laughing despite the war raging above their heads, making a promise. When do we leave? Hyunwoo asked. Thalavan's face showed surprise, then relief. Tomorrow morning. My ship is docked at Bay 17. Bring only what you need. I'll be there. The general nodded once, a gesture of deep respect. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Ji-won hurried over. Sir, what was that about? What did he want? Hyunwoo watched Thalavan leave. Pack your things, Lieutenant. We're taking a trip. A trip where? Into the heart of the Velkari Empire. Hyunwoo smiled, but there was sadness in it. I made a promise to an old friend. It's time I kept it. Ji-won stared at him like he had lost his mind. Maybe he had. But some promises were worth any risk. That night, Hyunwoo could not sleep. He sat by his window, looking out at the stars, thinking about a dying alien who had once been his enemy and became his brother. Tomorrow, he would risk everything to see him one last time. It was the only choice he could make. The Velkari ship was nothing like human vessels. Where human ships had straight lines and clean surfaces, this one had curves and edges that seemed almost alive. The walls pulsed with a faint red light. The air smelled like hot metal and something sweet that Hyunwoo could not identify. Ji-won had not stopped complaining since they came aboard. This is insane, she muttered as they walked through a corridor. We're surrounded by enemy soldiers, on an enemy ship, flying toward an enemy planet. Sir, with respect, have you completely lost your mind? Probably, Hyunwoo admitted. He carried only a small bag with basic supplies. Everything else he left behind. But I need to do this. Why? Who is this Korath? What did he do that's worth risking your life? Hyunwoo stopped walking. He turned to face his young aide. He saved my life. Not just physically. He saved who I was as a person, and I never got to thank him properly. Before Ji-won could respond, Thalavan appeared. Captain, Lieutenant, please follow me to the observation deck. We will be jumping to faster than light speed soon. You should see it. They followed the general through the ship. Velkari soldiers watched them with hostile eyes. Some whispered in their clicking musical language. Hyunwoo understood a few words. Traitor. Human filth. Death. Ignore them, Thalavan said calmly. They are young and foolish. They know nothing of real war. The observation deck was a large room with transparent walls. Space stretched out in all directions, filled with distant stars. Thalavan stood beside Hyunwoo and pointed to a blue star far ahead. That is our sun, my home. In 5 days, you will see Velkari Prime. Your crew doesn't seem happy about us being here, Ji-won said. They are not, but they will obey me. Thalavan looked at Hyunwoo. My father taught me that true strength is not about forcing others to follow. It is about making them want to follow. He learned that from you. From me? Hyunwoo shook his head. I was just trying to survive. Tell me the story, Thalavan said. My father spoke of it often, but I want to hear it from you. What happened on that planet? Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then he began to speak. 30 years ago, he had been a young lieutenant. Eager, stupid, convinced that the war would be over quickly and humans would win easily. His ship had been shot down during a patrol mission. He crashed on a planet called Velkar 7, far behind enemy lines. The crash broke his leg and cracked 3 ribs. His radio was dead. His supplies were destroyed. He crawled into a cave to hide, certain he would die there. That was when Korath found him. The Velkari soldier was wounded too. A weapon blast had burned his side and one of his arms hung useless. He could have killed Hyunwoo easily. Instead, he just stared. I raised my gun, Hyunwoo said, remembering. I was ready to shoot. But he didn't move. He just looked at me with those metallic eyes. Then he spoke in broken human language. He said, You hurt. I hurt. We help? Ji-won listened with wide eyes. Even Thalavan seemed fascinated, though he must have heard this story before. I didn't trust him, but I was dying, so I lowered my gun. He came into the cave and looked at my injuries. Then he went outside and came back with plants. He crushed them and put them on my wounds. The pain stopped. He set my broken leg using pieces of metal from my crashed ship. And you helped him? Jiwon asked. Yes, I used my medical kit on his burns. We couldn't really talk at first. His human language was bad. My Valkyrie was terrible. But we learned. Every day we taught each other words. He showed me which plants were safe to eat. I showed him how to use human tools. We hunted together. We kept each other warm during the cold nights. Hyunwoo paused, lost in memory. 3 months. That's how long we survived together. 3 months of being enemies who became friends. He told me about his wife. His son who was just born. I told him about my family on Earth. We were just 2 soldiers trying to stay alive. What happened? Thalvin asked quietly. When the rescue came? A human search team found us. They saw Korath and raised their weapons. I stood in front of him and told them to stop. They thought I was crazy. They thought he had captured me and was using me as a hostage. I had to order them to stand down. Hyunwoo's voice grew sad. Korath could have come with us. I asked him to, but he said no. He had a family to return to, a war to fight. We were on opposite sides after all. So you just left him there? Jiwon sounded angry. No, I gave him my emergency beacon. I told him to use it when he wanted to go home. Then I made him promise that someday, when the war was over, we would meet again as friends. Hyunwoo looked at Thalvin. I never saw him again. Until now. Thalvin was silent for a moment. He activated that beacon 2 days after you left. A Valkyrie patrol picked him up. When he returned home, his commanders wanted to know how he survived. He told them about you. They called him a traitor. They said he should have killed you and died honorably. What did he do? Hyunwoo asked. He challenged them. He said that honor without mercy is just cruelty, that strength without compassion is just violence. He made many enemies that day, but he also made the commanders think. Thalvin touched a scar on his face. When I was 10 years old, I became very sick. The doctors said I would die. My father sat beside my bed every night telling me stories. Stories about a human who showed him that enemies could choose to be something else. The general's voice grew stronger. He told me about your mercy, your kindness, your human idea that every life has value, even an enemy's life. Those stories kept me alive. They made me want to be strong like you. When I recovered, I joined the military. I rose through the ranks, and I tried to be the kind of soldier my father taught me to be. Jiwon was quiet now, listening intently. My father spent years looking for you, Thalvin continued. But the war made it impossible. Then the Cold War began. He could not travel to human space. He could not send messages. All he could do was hope. Hope that you were alive. Hope that he would see you again. The general's eyes met Hyunwoo's. Now he is dying, and I finally found you. Thank you for coming. I should have looked for him too, Hyunwoo said. I should have tried harder. You are here now. That is what matters. The ship's engines hummed louder. Space outside the windows began to stretch and twist. We are jumping, Thalvin said. 5 days to Valkyrie Prime, you should rest. The journey will be difficult. As Hyunwoo and Jiwon walked back to their quarters, the young officer spoke quietly. I was wrong about you, sir. About this mission. I didn't understand. Understand what? Why this matters so much? Jiwon looked at him. My father died in the war. I've hated the Valkyrie my whole life. But listening to your story, maybe I've been wrong about them too. Maybe they're not all monsters. They're not, Hyunwoo said. They're just people like us. Trying to survive. Trying to protect what they love. That night in his small room on the alien ship, Hyunwoo dreamed of purple skies and glowing forests. He dreamed of a wounded soldier who chose mercy over hate. He dreamed of his friend. Valkyrie Prime appeared in the view screen like a red jewel. 3 moons orbited the planet, each one covered in massive structures. The planet itself glowed with cities that stretched across entire continents. Hyunwoo had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. My home, Thalvin said with pride. 3 billion Valkyrie live here. We have existed for 10,000 years. Our empire spans 40 star systems. He looked at Hyunwoo, and you are the first human to see it. Jiwon stood close to Hyunwoo, her hand near her weapon. Sir, I have a bad feeling about this. So do I, Hyunwoo admitted. But we've come too far to turn back now. The ship descended through the atmosphere. Below them, cities of crystal and metal rose like mountains. Ships filled the sky. thousands of them all moving in perfect patterns. The Velkari were a civilization built on order and discipline. They landed on a private platform at the edge of a huge city. When the doors opened, heat and noise poured in. The air was thick and smelled like sulfur. Velkari voices filled the platform, all shouting in their musical language. "Stay close to me," Thalvin ordered. "Many here will not be happy to see you." As they walked down the ramp, Hyunwoo saw the crowd. Hundreds of Velkari had gathered. Some held weapons. Others held signs with symbols he could not read. Their eyes burned with hate. "Humans," someone shouted in broken human speech. "Leave our world." "Traitor," another voice called to Thalvin. "You bring our enemies here." Thalvin's soldiers formed a protective circle around Hyunwoo and Jiwon. The general himself walked ahead, his head high, ignoring the angry crowd. They reached a transport vehicle, a large machine that floated above the ground. Once inside, Jiwon let out a breath she had been holding. "They wanted to kill us," she said. "Yes," Thalvin replied calmly. "But they did not. That is progress." The vehicle carried them through the city. Hyunwoo stared out the windows at the alien world. Buildings rose in spirals, connected by bridges that seemed to float in the air. Velkari citizens filled the streets, going about their lives. Children played in parks with strange trees that had silver leaves. It was all so different from Earth, yet somehow familiar. "My father's estate is outside the city," Thalvin explained. "He moved there after he retired from military service. He said he wanted peace and quiet, away from the politics and the fighting." They traveled for an hour, leaving the city behind. The landscape changed to rolling hills covered in red grass. In the distance, mountains touched the sky. Finally, they arrived at a large compound surrounded by walls. "Home," Thalvin said quietly. The gates opened. Inside, the compound was beautiful. Gardens filled with alien flowers surrounded a main house built in the traditional Velkari style. Water fountains sang in the courtyard. It was a place of peace. A Velkari woman waited at the entrance. She was smaller than Thalvin, with golden scales that caught the sunlight. Her eyes were fierce and intelligent. "Mother," Thalvin said, bowing his head. "My son." The woman's gaze moved to Hyunwoo. "So this is the human my husband saved. The one he spoke of endlessly." Her tone was not friendly. "This is Captain Hyunwoo," Thalvin said. "Captain, this is Dawoon, my mother." Dawoon stepped closer, studying Hyunwoo like he was an insect. "My husband is dying because of humans. Because of your war, and now you come here expecting what? Forgiveness?" "Mother, please," Thalvin began. "No." Dawoon held up a hand. "Let him answer." Hyunwoo met her eyes. "I don't expect forgiveness. I came because your husband asked for me. Because 30 years ago he saved my life when he didn't have to. Because we made a promise to each other. That's all." Dawoon stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly her expression softened. "He is inside, waiting for you. He has been waiting for 30 years. She turned and walked toward the house. "Come, before it is too late." They followed her through hallways decorated with weapons and paintings. Hyunwoo saw images of Velkari history, great battles and great leaders, and then he saw a painting that made him stop. It showed a purple sky and a glowing forest. Two figures stood together, one human and one Velkari. "He painted that 5 years ago," Dawoon said. From memory, he would sit in front of it for hours remembering. They reached a large room filled with sunlight. In the center, on a bed, lay Korath. Hyunwoo barely recognized him. The strong soldier he remembered was gone. This Velkari was thin and weak. His scales were dull. His breathing was labored. But when he saw Hyunwoo, his eyes came alive. "My friend," Korath whispered in human speech. "You came." Hyunwoo rushed to his side. "Of course I came. I promised, didn't I?" Korath tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. Dayan hurried forward with medicine, helping her husband drink. Thalvin and Jiwon stayed near the door, giving them privacy. 30 years, Korath said when he could speak again. "So long, I looked for you. Sent messages, but the war, I know. I tried to find you too. The governments kept us apart." Hyunwoo took his friend's hand. It felt cold and weak. "I'm sorry it took so long." "Not your fault," Korath smiled. "You are here now. That is enough." He paused, his expression growing serious. "But there is another reason I needed to see you. Not just goodbye, warning." "Warning?" Hyunwoo leaned closer. "What do you mean?" Korath looked at his wife and son. "Tell them, Show him. Daun moved to a desk and took out a small device. For 30 years, my husband and I have been working in secret, trying to prevent another war. We gathered information, made contacts on both sides. We discovered something terrible. She activated the device. Holographic images filled the air above them. Documents, communications, names and faces, both human and Velkari. A conspiracy, Korath said, his voice weak but urgent. Military leaders on both sides. They want war. They have been sabotaging every peace effort, every treaty, every attempt at understanding. They want power, and war gives them power. Hyunwoo felt ice in his veins. How long has this been going on? 20 years, maybe more. Korath coughed again. They call themselves the Purifiers. On our side, at least. I do not know what the humans call their group, but they work together. They want to create a war so terrible that both our peoples will beg for strong leaders. Leaders who will rule with absolute power. That's insane, Ji-won said from the doorway. Yes, Korath agreed. But it is happening. They are planning something big. An attack that will look like one side betrayed the other. A false flag. It will start the final war. When? Hyunwoo demanded. Soon. Very soon. Korath gripped his friend's hand tighter. That is why I needed you. You are the only person I trust. Human and Velkari. You must stop them. You must. The lights went out. For a moment, everything was silent. Then alarms began to scream throughout the compound. Talavin pulled out his weapon. We are under attack. Explosions shook the building. Glass shattered. Ji-won grabbed Hyunwoo and pulled him down as the windows exploded inward. Armed figures in black armor poured into the room. The Purifiers, Dawn shouted. They know we told him. Dalvin fired his weapon and the attackers fired back. The room became chaos. Hyunwoo covered Korath with his body as energy blasts tore through the walls. Get him out of here! Korath cried. Take the data! Stop them, please! Thalvin threw something that exploded in bright light. In the confusion, Ji-won grabbed the device from Da-un. More explosions rocked the compound. This way, Daeon shouted, pointing to a hidden door. They ran, carrying Korath between them. Behind them, the attackers pursued. The compound burned. Everything Korath had built was being destroyed. But they had the data. They had the truth. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. The hidden passage led down into darkness. Hyunwoo and Thalvin carried Korath between them, while Da-un led the way with a light device. Ji-won brought up the rear, her weapon ready. Behind them, they could hear the attackers searching, their voices echoing through the burning compound. Here, Da-un said, stopping at a metal door. She pressed her hand against it and the door opened, revealing a small room filled with supplies and equipment. This was my husband's safe room. We prepared it years ago in case this day came. They laid Korath on a medical bed. His breathing was worse now, ragged and painful. The stress of the attack was killing him faster. How did they find us? Telvin demanded, checking his weapon. How did they know we would tell him? They have eyes everywhere, Da-un said bitterly. We knew the risk when we brought him here. Hyunwoo looked at the small device Ji-won had grabbed. It held all the evidence of the conspiracy. Names, dates, communications. Proof that leaders on both sides were working together to start a war. We need to get this information out, he said. To the right people. People who will actually do something about it. Who? Ji-won asked. If this conspiracy is as big as he says, they could be anywhere. Anyone could be working for them. Korath coughed, trying to speak. They all leaned closer. 2 weeks, he whispered. The attack. 2 weeks from now. You must. Stop them. Father, save your strength, Thalvin said. No time. Korath looked at each of them. Da-un. My wife, my love. Thank you. For everything. Don't talk like that, Da-un said, tears in her metallic eyes. We will get you help. We will. No. Korath smiled weakly. I am dying. Have been dying for months. But I stayed alive for this. To warn them. To give them a chance. He turned to Hyunwoo. My friend. My brother. Finish what we started. Show them that enemies can become family. I will, Hyunwoo promised, his voice breaking. I swear it. Explosions thundered above them. The ceiling cracked and dust fell like snow. They are breaking through, Thalvin said. We cannot stay here. Then go. Korath's voice was barely a whisper now. All of you, leave me. Take the data. Stop the war. Father, no, go. Korath used the last of his strength to shout. That is an order. From your father and your former commander. Go! More explosions! Closer now. The attackers were right above them. Dayun kissed her husband's forehead. I love you. I will finish your work. I promise. I love you too. Korath smiled one last time. Then his eyes found Hyunwoo. Thank you. For being my friend. For showing me that we are all just people. All of us. Thank you, Hyunwoo said through tears. For saving me. For teaching me. For everything. Korath closed his eyes. His breathing slowed. Became peaceful. We have to go, Ji-won said urgently. The ceiling was starting to collapse. Dayun pulled herself away from her husband. Thalvin stood at attention one last time, saluting his father. Then they ran, following another passage that led away from the safe room. Behind them, the ceiling collapsed completely. Korath was gone. But he had bought them time with his sacrifice. They emerged from the tunnel into the gardens, now burning with green flames. Black armored figures were everywhere, searching through the rubble. Dayun led them to a hidden vehicle bay. My husband prepared everything, she said, her voice cold with grief and rage. Vehicles, weapons, money, he knew this day might come. They climbed into a fast transport. Thalvin took the controls while Ji-won manned the weapons. As they lifted off, the attackers saw them and opened fire. Hold on! Thalvin shouted. The transport shot forward, weaving between energy blasts. Buildings and trees flashed past in a blur. The attackers followed in their own vehicles, firing constantly. Ji-won fired back, her shots precise despite the chaos. These aren't just random soldiers, she called out. They're trained, professional. This is an assassination squad. Of course they are, Dayun said. The purifiers have unlimited resources. They have been planning this for years. A blast hit their transport. Alarm screamed. They were losing altitude. I cannot keep us up much longer, Thalvin said through gritted teeth. We need to land. There. Dayun pointed to a dense forest ahead. Land there. We can lose them in the trees. They crashed into the forest, the transport tearing through silver branches before slamming into the ground. Everyone was thrown forward. Hyunwoo felt something crack in his chest. Pain shot through him, but he forced himself to move. Out, everyone out, Thalvin ordered. They stumbled from the wreckage. Behind them, they could hear the enemy vehicles approaching. Dayun grabbed weapons from the transport and handed them out. Can you shoot? She asked Hyunwoo. Yes, he replied, taking the alien weapon. It felt strange in his hands, but similar enough to human weapons. They took positions behind trees and rocks. The enemy vehicles landed nearby and black armored figures emerged. Thalvin counted them quietly. 20, maybe more. We are 4, and 2 of us are injured. I'm fine, Hyunwoo lied. His chest was definitely broken. But they needed every person who could fight. Orders, General? One of Thalvin's soldiers asked from a communication device. We received your distress signal. We are 10 minutes away. Come fast, Thalvin replied. And bring everyone. We don't have 10 minutes, Ji-won said. The enemy soldiers were spreading out, surrounding their position. Dayun raised her weapon. Then we buy time. For Korath. For the truth. The attackers opened fire. The forest exploded with energy blasts and the sound of splintering trees. Hyunwoo fired back, his training from 30 years ago returning. Beside him, Ji-won fought with fierce determination. Thalvin moved like a warrior from legends, each shot perfect. And Dayun fought with the rage of a grieving wife. An attacker charged at Hyunwoo. They grappled, rolling across the ground. The Valkyrie was stronger, but Hyunwoo was desperate. He managed to throw the attacker off, and Ji-won shot him before he could recover. Thanks, Hyunwoo gasped. We're even now, Ji-won replied, shooting at another enemy. More attackers fell, but so did their defenses. A blast hit Dayun's shoulder. She cried out but kept fighting. Thalvin took a hit to his leg and collapsed. General. Hyunwoo rushed to him. I am fine, Thalvin growled, but he clearly was not. Keep fighting. They were going to die here. Hyunwoo knew it. They were outnumbered and wounded. The data device was in his pocket. If they died, the evidence died with them. Then he heard it. The sound of engines. Many engines. Ships appeared above the trees. Military ships bearing Thalvin's symbols. They opened fire on the attackers, energy beams cutting through the forest. The enemy soldiers scattered, trying to escape, but they were caught in the open. Within minutes, it was over. The attackers were dead or captured. Thalvin's loyal soldiers landed and secured the area. A medic rushed to Thalvin. Another to Dayun. A human medic examined Hyunwoo. 3 broken ribs, the medic said. You should not have been fighting. Had to, Hyunwoo replied. No choice. Ji-won sat down heavily, exhaustion hitting her. Is everyone okay? We are alive, Da-eun said, wincing as the medic treated her wound. That is more than I expected. Thalvin pulled himself to his feet, refusing the medic's help. He looked at the burning compound in the distance where his father lay buried under rubble. He died protecting us, Thalvin said quietly. Protecting the truth. We cannot let his sacrifice be meaningless. Hyunwoo pulled out the data device. It was damaged but still working. Then we finished what he started. We exposed the conspiracy. We stopped the war. How? Ji-won asked. We don't know who to trust. The purifiers could be anywhere. We split up, Da-eun said. My son and I will work to expose them among the Velkari leadership. You two must return to human space and warn your people. They won't believe us, Hyunwoo said. A retired captain and a young lieutenant? They'll think we're crazy. Then make them believe, Thalvin said firmly. Do whatever it takes. My father died for this. Millions more will die if we fail. They stood together in the burning forest, 4 people against a conspiracy that spanned 2 civilizations. The odds were impossible. But as Hyunwoo looked at his companions, he remembered Korith's words. Enemies could become family. Strangers could become allies. And sometimes the most impossible things were the only ones worth fighting for. For Korith, he said. For Korith, they all replied. The war against the war had begun. The journey back to human space took 3 days. Hyunwoo spent most of that time studying the data device, learning the truth behind 30 years of failed peace. What he found made him sick. The conspiracy was everywhere. High-ranking officers, government officials, corporate leaders, all working together to keep the war going. They had sabotaged peace treaties, assassinated diplomats who got too close to real peace, started incidents that looked like attacks from the other side. And the names on the list made his blood run cold. Admiral Sang-ho, he whispered, staring at the evidence. No, not him. You know him? Ji-won asked. She was sitting across from him in their small ship, her own injuries bandaged. He was my commander during the war. He taught me everything. Strategy, leadership, honor. Hyunwoo felt his world crumbling. He's the one who court-martialed me when I spoke out against the war's brutality. I thought he was just following orders. But this, he was part of it all along. The data showed everything. Sang-ho had been working with the purifiers for over 20 years. He had risen through the ranks by making the war worse, not better. Every promotion was built on lies and death. Who can we trust? Ji-won asked quietly. If someone like him is involved, who's left? Hyunwoo thought hard. Then he remembered a name. Bora, Lieutenant Commander Bora. She was my student at the military academy. Smart, honest. She works in intelligence now. If anyone can help us, it's her. They arrived at a human military station near Earth. As soon as they docked, soldiers surrounded their ship. Captain Hyunwoo, a voice said over the communication system. You are under arrest for treason. Surrender immediately. Ji-won looked at him in shock. What? How did they know we were coming? The conspiracy, Hyunwoo said bitterly. They have people everywhere. They knew we would come back. Do we fight? Ji-won reached for her weapon. No, if we fight, they'll kill us. If we surrender, at least we have a chance. Hyunwoo raised his hands. We go peacefully, and we hope Bora is still someone we can trust. They were taken into custody and separated. Hyunwoo was locked in a small cell with no windows. Guards watched him constantly. No one would tell him what the charges were or when he would face trial. On the 3rd day, Admiral Sang-ho came to visit. He looked the same as Hyunwoo remembered. Tall and strong despite his age. Gray hair cut short. Eyes that missed nothing. He had been a hero once. Now he was something else. Captain, Sang-ho said, his voice warm like they were old friends. You've caused quite a bit of trouble. I'm exposing the truth, Hyunwoo replied. That's not trouble. That's justice. Truth? Sang-ho laughed. You traveled to an enemy world. You consorted with enemy soldiers. You brought back enemy propaganda. And you expect us to believe you're a patriot? I have evidence, names, communications, everything. Evidence can be faked. The Velkari are clever. They tricked you, Hyunwoo. Made you think there was some grand conspiracy. But it's just their way of dividing us. Sang-ho leaned closer to the cell bars. Give me the data device. Let me examine it. I promise I'll investigate thoroughly. Hyunwoo studied his old commander's face. The lies came so easily to him. How had he never noticed before? You know what's on that device, Hyunwoo said quietly. Your name. Your crimes. Everything you've done for 20 years. Something flickered in Sang-ho's eyes. For just a moment the mask slipped. Then he smiled again. Careful, Captain. These accusations could be considered slander. They could add years to your sentence. He turned to leave. Think about it. Give me the device, cooperate, or spend the rest of your life in a cell. After he left, Hyunwoo sat in silence. They had taken the data device when they arrested him. It was in enemy hands now. The evidence would be destroyed. Everything Koreth died for would be meaningless. Unless Bora had gotten his message. Meanwhile, on Velkari Prime, Thalvin faced his own battles. He stood before the High Council, the most powerful leaders in the Velkari Empire. They sat in a circular chamber looking down at him like judges. You bring shame to your family, one council member said. You brought a human to our homeworld. Your father died because of your foolishness. My father died protecting the truth, Thalvin replied firmly, a truth you do not want to hear. And what truth is that? Another council member asked mockingly. That some of you are traitors. That you have been working with humans to keep the war alive. That you profit from the conflict while our people die. Thalvin's voice rang through the chamber. I have evidence, names, proof of your conspiracy. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some council members demanded his arrest. Others called for his execution, but a very few, stayed silent. They watched with thoughtful eyes. One of them was Vexmil, an elder stateswoman who had served with Koreth decades ago. She raised her hand and the chamber fell silent. Let him speak, she said. I knew Koreth. He was the most honest soldier I ever served with. If his son makes these accusations, I will hear them. Thalvin bowed to her with respect. Then he began to present the evidence. Da-Eun helped, displaying holographic images that showed communications between Velkari purifiers and their human counterparts. Some council members tried to leave. Guards blocked the doors. You will stay and hear this, Vexmil commanded. All of it. The evidence was overwhelming. Dates, times, meetings between people who should have been enemies. Plans to sabotage peace efforts. Even plans for the upcoming false flag attack. By the time Thalvin finished, several council members were shouting denials. Others sat in stunned silence. This is all lies, one of them screamed. Forged data. Human trickery, is it? Vexmil stood. I see my own name in one of these communications. A meeting I was invited to join. I refused, thinking it was simply politics. Now I see it was recruitment. She looked at the accused council members. You are traitors. All of you. You cannot prove— I can, Thalvin interrupted. Because I challenge you. Ancient law allows me to challenge any council member to trial by combat. If I am lying, the ancestors will grant you victory. If I speak truth, I will prevail. The chamber went silent. Trial by combat was old law, rarely used, but it was still valid. One of the accused council members stepped forward. His name was Kreshatar, and he was known as the greatest warrior on the council. I accept your challenge, boy. When I kill you, this nonsense ends. We shall see, Thalvin replied. Back in human space, Hyunwoo heard footsteps outside his cell. The door opened. A young woman in an intelligence officer's uniform stood there. Bora, he breathed. Captain. She looked older than he remembered, tired, but her eyes were still sharp. I got your message, all of it. The data you uploaded to a secure server before they arrested you. You believe me? I've been investigating Admiral Sang-ho for 2 years. I knew something was wrong. I just couldn't prove it. She pulled out a datapad, but now I can. Your evidence confirms everything I suspected. He's part of a massive conspiracy, and the false flag attack is scheduled for 5 days from now. We have to stop them. We will. But first we need to get you out of here. Bora disabled the cell's lock. I have a ship waiting. 3 others are with me. People I trust completely. We're going to expose this conspiracy. All of it. They'll call us traitors. Let them. History will prove us right. Bora handed him a weapon. Can you still fight? Hyunwoo thought of Koreth, of the promise he made, of the war that would kill millions if they failed. Yes, he said. I can fight. They moved through the station quietly, avoiding guards. Bora had planned their escape perfectly. Within minutes, they reached her ship. but Admiral Sang-ho was waiting there with armed soldiers. "I knew you would try something like this, Bo-ra," he said calmly. "You were always too clever for your own good." "It's over, Admiral," Bo-ra replied. "The evidence is already uploaded to secure servers all over human space. Even if you kill us, the truth will come out. Perhaps. But without you to testify, who will people believe? A dead traitor's files? Or a living war hero?" Sang-ho raised his weapon. "I'm sorry it has to end this way." On Velkari Prime, Thalavan faced Kreshitar in the combat arena. Thousands watched as the two warriors fought with blade and honor. Kreshitar was experienced and brutal, but Thalavan fought with something stronger than skill. He fought for his father, for the truth, for peace. The battle was fierce. Both warriors bled, both fell and rose again. But in the end, Thalavan's blade found its mark. Kreshitar fell. The arena was silent. "The ancestors have spoken," Vexmil declared. "Thalavan speaks truth. The conspiracy is real." Guards moved to arrest the accused council members. Some tried to fight. Others tried to flee. None succeeded. On the human station, as Sang-ho prepared to fire, an alarm blared. Emergency broadcasts played on every screen. "This is an urgent message to all human military forces," a voice said. It was Bora's voice, pre-recorded and timed perfectly. "Evidence of a conspiracy to start a war with the Velkari Empire has been discovered. Admiral Sang-ho and others have been working with enemy forces to keep the conflict alive. All evidence is available on the following secure servers." Sang-ho's face went pale. His soldiers looked confused. In that moment of distraction, Hyunwoo and Bora moved. The fight was brief. Sang-ho's soldiers, faced with evidence of their commander's treason, refused to fight. Sang-ho himself tried to run but was captured. It was over. The conspiracy was exposed. But the 3 days had passed since the conspiracy was exposed. Across human space and Velkari territory, arrests were being made. Council members, admirals, corporate executives. Everyone connected to the purifiers was being hunted down. But the false flag attack was still coming. In 2 days, something terrible would happen that would start the final war. Hyunwoo stood in a command center on Earth, studying tactical displays. Bora worked beside him, her fingers flying across computer screens. Jiwon coordinated with military units across the planet. They were exhausted but determined. "We've identified the target," Bora said, pulling up a holographic image. "The Harmony's Edge. It's the largest human military ship in the fleet. Tomorrow there's a scheduled fleet review. Every major human leader will be on board. Presidents, generals, ambassadors. And someone is going to blow it up," Jiwon said grimly. "Make it look like a Velkari attack." "Exactly. Then humans will demand revenge. War will be inevitable." Hyunwoo studied the display. "Can we cancel the fleet review?" "We tried. The organizers refuse. They say canceling would show weakness." Bora shook her head. "Politicians. Then we go aboard. We find the bomb or the saboteur or whatever they've planned, and we stop it. Security will be massive," Jiwon warned. "After the conspiracy exposure, everyone is paranoid. Getting aboard will be nearly impossible." Bora smiled. "Not impossible. Just very difficult. I have a plan." She explained it. The plan was insane. It required perfect timing, perfect execution. One mistake and they would all die. "I love it," Hyunwoo said. "Let's do it." On Velkari Prime, Thalavan faced a different problem. The purifiers were exposed, but many had escaped, and according to intercepted communications, they had their own plan for the false flag attack. "A Velkari strike team," Daewon said, showing him the intelligence report. "Disguised as a legitimate patrol. They will attack the human fleet review. The humans will see Velkari weapons, Velkari ships. They will believe it was an official attack." "Where is this strike team now?" Thalavan demanded. "We don't know. They went dark 2 days ago." Vexmil entered the room, her expression grim. "They could be anywhere. And we cannot warn the humans without proof. They might think we are part of the attack." Thalavan stood and grabbed his armor. "Then we find them. And we stop them ourselves. Son, you cannot." "I can. And I will." Thalavan looked at his mother. "Father died to prevent this war. I will not let his sacrifice be meaningless." Daewon was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "I am coming with you." "Mother, no. It's too dangerous. Your father and I worked together for 30 years. I will not stop now." She picked up her own weapon. "Besides, someone needs to keep you from doing something stupid." Vexmill watched them. I will provide ships. Loyal soldiers, whatever you need, but you must move quickly. The fleet review is tomorrow. Within the hour, Thalvin commanded a small battle group. 5 ships, 40 soldiers, all loyal, all ready to fight their own people if necessary. They searched the space between Velkari and human territory, looking for any sign of the rogue strike team. Time was running out. On the morning of the fleet review, Hyunwoo put on a stolen military dress uniform. Bora and Jiwon wore similar disguises. They had forged credentials, fake identities, everything they needed to get past security. Remember, Bora said as they approached the shuttle that would take them to the Harmony's edge, act natural. We belong here. We have every right to be here. The security checks were intense, scanners, ID verification, biological checks. But Bora's forgeries were perfect. They passed through. The shuttle ride took 20 minutes. Through the windows, Hyunwoo could see the massive fleet assembled for the review. Hundreds of ships, the greatest military force humanity had ever gathered, and somewhere among them, enemies waited to destroy it all. The Harmony's edge was enormous. A flying city, thousands of crew members, hundreds of guests. Finding a bomb or a saboteur in this chaos seemed impossible. We split up, Hyunwoo said quietly. Bora, check the engineering sections. That's where a bomb would do the most damage. Jiwon, monitor communications. See if you can intercept any suspicious signals. I'll work my way toward the bridge. If something is going to happen, the command staff needs to be warned. They separated, each heading to their assigned area. Hyunwoo moved through corridors filled with officers and politicians. Everyone was excited about the fleet review. The biggest military display in decades, a show of strength. They had no idea they were targets. He reached an observation deck where military leaders had gathered. And there in the center, giving a speech about strength and unity, was Admiral Sang-ho. Hyunwoo froze. Sang-ho was supposed to be under arrest. How was he here? Then he understood. Sang-ho must have allies, people who helped him escape. The conspiracy ran deeper than they thought. Sang-ho saw him. Their eyes met across the crowded room. The Admiral smiled. In the engineering section, Bora found what she was looking for. A device attached to the main reactor. Not a bomb. Something else. A control system. Someone was going to take over the ship's weapons remotely. Found it, she whispered into her communication device. They're going to hijack the ship's weapons. Make it fire on the fleet. It will look like the Harmony's edge went rogue. Like humans are turning on each other. Can you disable it? Hyunwoo asked. I can try. But if I do it wrong, I might trigger it early. We'd have minutes before the ship starts firing. Do it. We're out of time. Bora began working on the device. Her hands were steady despite the pressure. Years of training guided her movements. In the communications center, Jiwon detected something. An encrypted signal, coming from outside the fleet. She traced it. Captain, I've got something. A signal from beyond the fleet perimeter. It's using Velkari encryption codes. The strike team, Hyunwoo breathed. They're here. Not just here. They're close. Very close. Jiwon's voice was urgent. They're going to attack any minute. Hyunwoo made a decision. He pulled out his weapon and pointed it at Sang-ho. Everyone down, he shouted. The room erupted in chaos. Security guards rushed toward him. But Hyunwoo wasn't aiming at people. He fired at the observation windows. Glass exploded outward. Alarms screamed. And through the broken windows, everyone could see them. Velkari ships. 3 of them, moving toward the fleet with weapons charging. Incoming attack! Someone screamed. But then more ships appeared. Thalvin's ships. They moved between the rogue Velkari and the human fleet. This is General Thalvin of the Velkari Imperial Fleet. His voice boomed over open communications. The ships attacking you are traitors, criminals. We will stop them. Do not fire on my ships. We are here to help. On the bridge of the Harmony's edge, confusion reigned. Who were the real enemies? Which Velkari ships were hostile? Sang-ho tried to use the chaos to escape, but Jiwon was waiting for him. They fought hand to hand. The Admiral was strong and trained, but Jiwon was younger, faster, and fighting for something bigger than herself. She won, barely. Sang-ho fell unconscious. In engineering, Bora finished disabling the hijack device. The ship's weapons were safe. In space, Thalvin's ships engaged the rogue strike team. The battle was fierce. The traitors were desperate, knowing this was their last chance. They fired on both Thalvin and the human fleet, trying to start the war even as they died. One of their missiles got through. It streaked toward the Harmony's edge. Da-Un saw it coming. Her ship was closest. She could intercept it. But doing so would mean, "Mother, no," Thalvin shouted, realizing what she was about to do. "Tell your human friend," Da-Un said calmly, "that his sacrifice inspired us all. Tell him Korath was right. We are all just people." Her ship rammed the missile. The explosion was blinding. When the light faded, Da-Un's ship was gone. The battle ended. The rogue Velkari were dead or captured. The Harmony's edge was safe, but the cost had been terrible. Hyunwoo stood at the broken observation window, watching debris drift through space. He thought of Korath, of Da-Un, of all the people who died to stop this war. Thalvin's voice came over the communication system. "Captain Hyunwoo." "Thank you. My mother. She died with honor, protecting those who needed protection, just as my father taught her." "I'm sorry," Hyunwoo said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. Do not be. She chose this, as my father chose. As we all choose." Thalvin paused. "The war is over before it began. Thanks to all of you, human and Velkari, working together." On the bridge, the ship's captain finally understood what had happened. He opened communications to Thalvin's fleet. "General Thalvin, on behalf of humanity, thank you. You saved us all." "We saved each other," Thalvin replied, "as it should be." Bora, Jiwon, and Hyunwoo met on the observation deck. They were exhausted, injured, but alive. "Is it really over?" Jiwon asked. "The attack is stopped," Bora said. "The conspiracy is exposed, but we still have work to do. Building peace is harder than preventing war." Hyunwoo looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Korath and Da-Un were at peace. Their sacrifice had changed everything. 3 months later, Hyunwoo stood in the same space station where this journey began. But everything was different now. The grand hall was filled with people again. Humans and Velkari mixed freely, talking and even laughing together. There was still tension. Still distrust. 30 years of war could not be forgotten in 3 months. But it was a start. Jiwon stood beside him, now promoted to commander. She wore her new rank with pride. The young officer who once hated all Velkari now worked with them every day. "Hard to believe, isn't it?" she said. 3 months ago I thought they were all monsters. Now I have Velkari friends, real friends." "People are not their governments," Hyunwoo replied. "That's what Korath taught me. What we all need to remember." Bora approached them. She had been promoted too, now serving as chief of Human Velkari Intelligence Cooperation. Her job was to make sure another conspiracy could never happen. "The trials are going well," she reported. "Sang-Ho and the other conspirators will spend the rest of their lives in prison. Both human and Velkari justice systems working together for the first time." "Good," Hyunwoo said. "They deserve it." They walked through the station toward the main ceremony hall. Today was important. Today they would unveil a monument to Korath and Da-Un, the first memorial to honor both species. Inside the hall, hundreds of people waited. Leaders from both civilizations. Soldiers. Civilians. Everyone who had been touched by the events of the past 3 months. And in the center of the hall stood the monument. It was beautiful. Made from materials from both Earth and Velkari Prime. It showed 2 figures standing back to back, one human and one Velkari, protecting each other. The inscription was in both languages, in memory of Korath and Da-Un, who proved that peace is stronger than war. That understanding is braver than hate, that we are all in the end just people trying to protect what we love. Hyunwoo felt tears in his eyes. It was perfect. The ceremony began. Human speakers talked about the courage it took to trust former enemies. Velkari speakers spoke of honor and the wisdom of Korath's teachings. Everyone praised the heroes who stopped the false flag attack. Then it was Thalvin's turn to speak. The general walked to the podium slowly. He still wore his military armor, but now it bore new symbols. Symbols of peace, of cooperation. He had been offered the position of Supreme General of all Velkari forces. He refused. Instead, he accepted a different role, ambassador to humanity. The first Velkari to hold that position. "My father," Thalvin began, his voice strong and clear, "used to tell me stories. Stories about a human soldier who showed him mercy, who taught him that enemies could become brothers. For 30 years, I thought they were just stories, lessons to teach a child about honor and kindness." He paused, looking at the monument. But they were not just stories. They were truth. My father and Captain Yunwoo proved that understanding is possible even in the darkest times. My mother proved that sacrifice for others is the highest form of love. Thalvin turned to face Yunwoo directly. Captain, you gave my father hope when he had none. You showed him a different path. And through him you changed my life, changed the future of my people. Thank you. For everything. Hyunwoo walked up to stand beside the general. 2 veterans. 2 survivors. 1 human, 1 Valkyrie. Your father saved me twice, Hyunwoo said, his voice thick with emotion. Once on that planet, when he chose mercy over duty, and once 3 months ago when he gave us the evidence to stop a war. He was the bravest person I ever knew. As was my mother, Thalvin added. She could have lived safely. But she chose to fight, to protect others. Even humans she barely knew. They stood together in silence for a moment. Then they placed their hands on the monument, one on each side. Human and Valkyrie, allies. The crowd erupted in applause. Not polite, diplomatic applause. Real emotion, real hope. After the ceremony, Hyunwoo was approached by a young human woman. She looked nervous. Captain Hyunwoo, my name is Minji. I'm a student at the new Interspecies Cultural Institute. I just wanted to say, thank you. Because of you and General Thalvin, I can study Valkyrie history and language. I can learn about their culture. I can make friends with people from another world. She smiled. That's amazing. Hyunwoo smiled back. No, thank you. People like you are the real future. We old soldiers just cleared the path. You're the ones who will build something beautiful on it. Minji left, her face glowing with excitement. Ji-won watched her go. She's right, you know. This is all because of you. No, Hyunwoo corrected. This is because of all of us. Korith, Da-yoon, Thalvin, you, Bora. Everyone who chose to be brave when it would have been easier to be afraid. Later that evening, Hyunwoo and Thalvin stood on an observation deck, watching ships from both fleets patrol together. It was a strange sight. Human and Valkyrie vessels flying side by side, protecting each other. I have been offered a position, Hyunwoo said quietly, co-director of the joint Human-Valkyrie Peacekeeping Initiative, working with you to make sure this peace lasts. Will you accept? Thalvin asked. Yes, they offered to reinstate me as a captain with full honors. But I don't need that. I need to finish what your father started. Hyunwoo looked at his friend. Together, Thalvin agreed. My father would have liked that. They stood in comfortable silence, 2 people from different worlds who had become brothers through shared purpose. Do you think it will work? Thalvin asked. This peace? There is still so much hate, so much fear. I don't know, Hyunwoo admitted. But I know this. Every day, people on both sides are choosing to try. Choosing to learn about each other. Choosing to be better than their worst instincts. That's what your father taught me. That's what humanity does best. We adapt, we change. We build bridges instead of walls. That is not just humanity, Thalvin said. That is all of us. When we choose to be. 5 years passed. The peace held. It was not perfect. There were incidents, misunderstandings, people on both sides who still hated. But slowly, steadily, things improved. The joint Human-Valkyrie Peacekeeping Initiative grew. What started with Hyunwoo, Thalvin, Ji-won, and a few dozen others became thousands, then tens of thousands, people from both species working together to solve problems, to build understanding. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges began. Valkyrie students studied on Earth. Human students studied on Valkyrie Prime. And then came the announcement that shocked both civilizations. A joint colony. The first settlement where humans and Valkyrie would live together, build together, raise families together. The colony was named Koreth's Landing. Hyunwoo attended the opening ceremony. He was older now, gray in his hair, lines on his face, but his eyes were still bright with hope. Ji-won was there too, now leading the colony's security forces. She had married a Valkyrie engineer named Kesheval. They had adopted orphans from both species. A family that crossed the stars. Bora ran the colony's intelligence and communications network, making sure no new conspiracies could grow in the shadows, but also helping people from both worlds learn to communicate, to understand each other's languages and customs. And Thalvin stood beside Hyunwoo, watching as the first families moved into their new homes. Human and Valkyrie side by side. My father dreamed of this, Thalvin said quietly. A place where our peoples could live in peace. where children could grow up knowing the other species not as enemies but as neighbors. Your mother would be proud, Hyunwoo said. They both would be. A young Velkari child ran past them, chasing a human child. They were laughing, playing some game that required no translation. Behind them, their parents watched with smiles. Look at them, Thalvin said. They do not see enemies. They just see friends. That's the future, Hyunwoo replied. That's what we fought for. An elderly Velkari approached them. It was Vexmill, the stateswoman who had helped expose the conspiracy. She had retired from the High Council and chosen to live in the new colony. General, Captain, she greeted them. A beautiful day, is it not? It is, they both agreed. I have been thinking about Koreth, Vexmill said. About the words he spoke to me the last time we served together.
He said, perhaps we are not meant to be enemies.
Perhaps we are meant to teach each other what it means to be more than our worst instincts. She looked at the playing children. He was right. He usually was, Hyunwoo said with a sad smile. That evening, a banquet was held to celebrate the colony's opening. Human and Velkari food was served together. Music from both cultures filled the air. People who once would have killed each other now shared meals and stories. Hyunwoo found himself sitting with a group of young officers, both human and Velkari. They asked him about the war, about Koreth, about how everything changed. It started with a choice, he told them. A Velkari soldier could have killed an enemy. Instead, he chose to help. One small choice, one moment of mercy, and from that came everything we have today. But you were enemies, a young Velkari officer said. How did you become friends? We talked. We learned about each other. We realized we were not so different. Hyunwoo thought back to those 3 months on that distant planet.
He told me about his wife.
His newborn son. I told him about my family. We shared food. We kept each other warm. We survived together, and somewhere in all of that we stopped seeing species and started seeing people. It sounds simple, a human officy.